Hi, it's me again, and welcome to another week of fun learning. And we will be learning something new this week. So far, we were able to cover the definition and the different genres of literature. Last week, we learned about the elements of a short story. And for this week, we will be learning about figurative language or figures of speech. This is going to be fun. I know you know of them already, so this is basically just like a review for you. So let's see how familiar you are with the figurative language. Okay. So what, by the way, is figurative language? This is used by poets to say something different from the usual way. So I may have mentioned that poetry uses a lot of figurative language, of symbolisms and nuances. So they're expressed in figurative language. They're the use of words. Figurative language refers to the use of words that go beyond their ordinary meaning, and they require the imagination to figure out the author's meaning, and they can heighten one's senses. Figurative language can be classified in five categories according to Merriam-Webster's Encyclopedia of Literature. So they can be a resemblance or relationship. They can emphasize, or it can also be an understatement. They can be figures of sound, meaning they refer to some sounds or an imitation of some sounds. They can be verbal games, just like in pun, or they can be about errors. So again, let's start with our review of figurative language. The first one, I guess the easiest one to spot, is the simile. The simile class is a comparison between two things using like or as. Okay, so here's an example. You say, my love for you is as deep as the sea. See? My father is busy as a bee. And the third example says, the still lake reflects the mountain like a mirror. So you have the word as and like. You're comparing two things here. So it's like a comparison. In the first statement, you compare love to that of the sea. It's how deep is your love, as they say. Second one, the father was compared to a busy bee. And the third one, the lake was compared to a mirror because it reflects the mountain like a mirror. So again, class, that is simile. Second one is a metaphor. Metaphor basically is still like is like a simile. It compares two things, but it's a direct comparison of two unlike things. So it's created when there are common characteristics between a literal concept and a figurative one. So example, you say her teeth are pearls. So there's no words like and as anymore. So it's a direct comparison of the teeth and the pearls. Time is gold. You're comparing time and the precious gold. It's precious. Time is precious. And third, you are my sunshine. You're comparing that person. It's a direct comparison of that person and sunshine, meaning she or he brightens up your world. And the third one is the personification. The personification is when you attribute human qualities or human characteristics to non-human beings. So from the name itself, from the name itself, you're personifying something. Example here says, fear grabbed me as I heard footsteps behind me. So fear is being personified because fear grabbed person, according to this statement. The floodwaters swallowed the trees in one big gulp. So it must be a really huge flood to have swallowed the trees. So that's a personification. The stars winked at us from the night sky. So the stars winked. You are personifying the star. You're giving human qualities to the stars. So again, that's the third one, personification. Onomatopoeia. This deals about sounds. Human onomatopoeia refers to the use of a word whose sound suggests the meaning. So, for example, you say 6 burgers were sizzling on the grill. The hissing of the snake scared me. So the sound of the snake, the hissing noise of the snake. The bee buzzed to my ears. So the buzzing sound of the bee. So when it's all about sounds, it's onomatopoeia. Next, we have irony. Irony refers to a figure of speech which a person is saying the opposite of what he means. So you say the bad news is that everybody's got perfect in yesterday's test. So it's like quite the opposite, right? So it's bad news, but then everybody got perfect. It's not actually bad news. So it's so nice of you to tell my secret. So it's like a sarcastic mode of speech telling somebody, how nice of you to tell those people my secret. So yeah, it's irony. Third example says, it is good for you, for it is good of you for scolding me in front of my friends. Again, a sarcastic mode of speech. That's irony, ironic. Next, we have apostrophe. Apostrophe identified by the addressing of someone absent, dead, or non-human, as if the person or thing were alive and could answer the speaker talking. So often used in informal writing contexts. When you say, tukso, layuan mo ako. So that's apostrophe. That's an example of apostrophe. You are addressing tukso as if tukso can talk to you back. So that's apostrophe. Next we have, okay, so here are some examples of apostrophe. Apostrophe, we thus address more things than I should care to guess. Apostrophe, I did invoke your figure even as I spoke. You're addressing apostrophe. Blue moon, you saw me standing alone without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. So you are addressing blue moon as if blue moon can talk to you back. So that is an apostrophe. Hyperbole is an exaggerated speech, is an overstatement or exaggeration for the effect of humor. So, exag. You snore louder than a freight train. I will love you till the seas run dry. So that's very exaggerant. Ever believe somebody who would tell you that? I have reminded you a million times to keep away from bad friends. A million. That's like overly exaggerated. So that is hyperbole. Next, we have litotes. Litotes is a figure of speech in which understatement is employed for rhetorical effect, principally via double negatives, and it emphasizes the truth. So, for example, when you ask somebody, how was the show? And then that person would say, not bad, because he said it wasn't bad, it means it was actually good. So it was not bad, meaning it was good. But instead of saying it was good, they would say it was not bad. They would express it that way. So that is litotes. You're not wrong. So that means you're correct. But instead of saying you're correct, you'd say you're not wrong, actually. That's litotes. Next, we have epithet. Also known as by name, it's a description or word or phrase added to or substituted for the name of somebody or something, highlighting a quality or figures. So, like when you say, sing to me of the man, muse, the man of twists and turns, like Odysseus, referring to Odysseus. Calypso, the bewitching nymph. Atlas, the wicked tyrant. So that's epithet, or in other words, a by name. Allegory means an extended metaphor. So it's a literary device in which characters or events represent or symbolize ideas and concepts, and it presents higher truths with vividness and power. It illustrates complex ideas and concepts in ways that are easily digestible and tangible to the readers. So allegory examples of allegories are Aesop's fables like the ant and the grasshopper, the fox and the grapes, the wolf in sheep's clothing. So the characters symbolize something else or a group of people who behave in such a way. The next one would be metonymy. The metonymy refers to the use of one object in place of another word of another which it closely suggests. So when you say the pen is mightier than the sword, that means the pen, the written word, is mightier than the sword, meaning military aggression. So writers during the Spanish period, Filipino writers during the Spanish period, believed that the pen is mightier than the sword. Instead of joining the guerrillas and fought the Spaniards with their swords, they fought instead using their pens. We must wait to hear from the crown until we make any further decision. So that's metonymy. The crown, the word crown here refers to the royalty, the king or the queen or the prince or the princess. You can also read from newspapers when headline would say, Malacanang declares August 21 as a national holiday. Or the City Hall issues ordinance number 0202 stating that blah 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 blah. So that is an example of metonymy. Synecdoche means it may use part of something to represent the entire whole, or may use the entire thing to represent part of it. Like when you say 50 sails entered the harbor. So 50 sails. The sail is just a part of a boat, but instead of saying boat, you say sails. So it's not just the actual sails, of course, but it refers to the entire boat. When say two heads are better than one, you're not just really referring to the heads, but the entire person, meaning two people thinking about it are better than one. Or when you say, how much is the entrance fee? And then this guy would answer, the entrance fee is 50 pesos per head. You're not actually just paying for the head, but you're paying for the entire person. But that is how you say it. So again, that is synecdoche. Alliteration class is characterized by the repetition of the initial vowel or consonant sounds. It's a great way to help you remember names and phrases. So for example, the tongue twister that says Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers. A pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a pack of pickled peppers, where's the pack of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? So if you notice, there's a repetition of the p sound all throughout this tongue twister. So that is an example of alliteration. Or you can say, Quincy quilters quit quilting quickly. So that's a repetition of the k consonant sound right there. Or Fred's friends fried Fritos for Friday's food. So repetition of the f consonant sound. Again, that's an example of alliteration. Next would be allusion. Allusion means a reference made to some familiar fact of history or literature. So there is no open sesame to the treasures of learning. So the phrase open sesame refers to that story of Alibaba and the 40 thieves. No, when Alibaba would open this cave of treasures using this phrase, "Open sesame," like that. The second example says the girl's love of sweets was her Achilles heel. Achilles heel would mean that's that girl's weakness. So that's allusion referring to Achilles and how his heels were his weakest. Number three, he was a Romeo with the ladies, referring, of course, to Romeo from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. And the fourth example says David was being a Scrooge. Scrooge class was a character in the story of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, and he was very stingy and miserly. Scrooge. Oxymoron is a figure of speech in which a pair of opposite or contradictory terms are used together for emphasis. So ever notice that it's simply impossible to find seriously funny oxymorons online? Seriously and then funny. Serious, funny. Paid volunteers, only choice, original copy of some obscurely obscure that were found missing. Found missing. So these are oxymorons. It's like two contrasting terms brought together. It's like antonyms brought together in one statement. So that is oxymoron. While pun, on the other hand, is an expression intended for a humorous or rhetorical effect by exploiting different meaning of the words. So, example says, I wondered why the ball was getting bigger, then it hit me. Okay, so that's pun, a play on words. Paradox is a statement that seems self-contradictory. The effect is to jolt the reader into paying attention. So, example says, he who loses his life for my sake will save it. And one day is sometimes better than a year. So, those are examples of paradox. Antithesis, on the other hand, is in a way like paradox and oxymoron. There are two contrasting terms, or there's a contrast in meaning, but when there's parallelism in its grammatical pattern, in the way it's written, that makes it antithesis. So, example, you seem so wise, yet how foolish you are. Another example says, to err is human, to forgive divine. Antithesis. Next would be the climax. The climax is an arrangement of a series of ideas or events in ascending order of importance, interest, or effectiveness. So it stressed the relative importance of ideas of events. So ascending. They were the best of friends before, months after they become sweet lovers, and now they'll be married. So that's climax. Quite the opposite is the anticlimax. The use of climax up to the end of a series of thoughts and then the insertion of some unimportant idea in the last and most important position. So it's like ascending in order still, but when you expected the last idea to be something of which is the most important, it actually like fell down to the least important one. So that's anti-climax. Euphemism, on the other hand, is the substitution of an agreeable or less offensive expression for one that may offend or suggest something unpleasant to the readers. So when you say you are chubby, you don't say fat, but you say you are chubby. My sister had just passed away, so instead of saying she died, so you say my sister had just passed away. So euphemism. Assonance refers to the repetition of vowel sounds in non-rhyming words. So we have here the example: fleet, feet, fleet, feet, sweep by sweeping geeks, which is a repetition of E sounds. The bee flees to the sea, or the rain in Spain falls mainly in the plain. So the A sound is being repeated. That's assonance. Next one, anaphora, which is a repetition of the same word or words at the beginning of successive clauses, verses, or sentences. So just like in songs, thank you for your care, thank you for your love, thank you for everything. Or air supplies, I know just how to whisper, I know just how to cry, I know just where to find the answer, and I know just how to lie, something. Okay, so that is an example of anaphora. And let's practice. Okay? Tell me what figures of speech or what figurative language is found in these statements. Are you ready? Because we're going to have a quiz after this online lecture. So again, first one. The firecracker made a loud kaboom. What figure of speech is that, class? Who can give me the right answer? That one is, again, it's onomatopoeia. So the firecracker made a loud kaboom. So you're imitating the sound of the firecracker. So when it's all about sounds, it's onomatopoeia. Second, the road was a ribbon wrapped through the desert. The road was a ribbon wrapped through the desert. What figurative language is used in this statement? That is, starts with an M. It's a metaphor. So it's a direct comparison between the road and the ribbon. I hope you got that right. Next one, she said so on several million occasions. She said so on several million occasions. So there's something quite exaggerated in here. So this one is a hyperbole. So exaggeration, several million occasions. I said that to you already. So that is hyperbole. He ran the race but lost despite his Herculean effort. This speaks of Hercules. In this phrase, Herculean effort, meaning it's something that requires really great strength. Hercules was known to be someone really, really strong. When you refer to a biblical, literary, or historical figure, that figure of speech is allusion. Okay, how about this one? She was wide-eyed and wondering while she waited for Walter to waken. She was wide-eyed and wondering while she waited for Walter to waken. So W sounds are highlighted in red color in this statement. So this one is, remember, the repetition of initial consonant sounds in the statement is what we call as alliteration. How about this one? The wind yells while blowing. The wind yells while blowing. 3, 2, 1. The wind yells is a personification. So you are giving human qualities to the wind. It's yelling down. So that is clearly personification. Do you want more practice, guys? How about this one? The muscles on his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. This is quite simple. You have the word as your clue. And it's a comparison between two things, the muscles and the iron bands. So this one is a simile. Simile. How about this? I wish I could acquire the wisdom of King Solomon. So again, the reference to a biblical, literary, or historical figure. We have King Solomon from the Bible. So this is what we call as allusion. A dog not only has a fur coat but also pants. Do you understand what this is trying to say? A dog now not only has a fur coat but also pants. This is a play on words. This is pun. So when you see there's like a word that has two meanings or like double meaning, so that is usually pun. He's handsome if you like rodents. This is clearly an ironic mode of speech, a sarcastic mode of speech. This is irony. And another one says, he has a green thumb. So this one says synecdoche, the part representing the whole, or vice versa. The world ended the day my father died. What figurative language is that? The world ended the day my father died. That is an exaggeration. That is a hyperbole. How many right answers did you get? Okay, so stay tuned with your LMS. There's an upcoming quiz that I'll be providing about the figurative language. So basically, almost every after video lessons we have, there would be quizzes. And aside from the video lessons I am giving you, I also provide you with notes in PDF form. And all of those resources are found in your learning management system. So stay tuned every week for new lessons, new topics, and as well as assignments and quizzes. Okay, so do study, review this video for you to remember those figurative language so you can do well in the quiz. All right, bye bye.